Hey guys, Tyler here, technical artist with World Labs. I hope you're having a great day so far. We've got a really exciting video planned for you today. Today, we're going to be going over how we get our assets from Marble and into Unreal. By the end of this tutorial, you should be able to take your amazing environment that you've generated inside of Marble and import it directly into Unreal, just like this. All right, let's dive in. All right. Before we begin, I just wanted to make sure that we had a brief understanding of the process of how we're getting our environments from Marble into Unreal. So our environments consist of three different components. Our environment will come in as an OpenCV PLY. We'll get our collision mesh as an OpenGL GLB, and we can use the 360 panel as our skylight, although we'll need to convert it from a PNG to an HDR. We recommend using Photoshop for this step. You can use any image software that you like as long as you can save it out as an HDR. There's also free online PNG to HDR converters available. All right, now that we understand the process, let's step into Marble. So we have this amazing environment that was created by a member of our community, and it just looks fantastic. So now that you have this environment, we're ready to start configuring our downloads. So as mentioned before, we'll be needing an OpenCV PLY, and we'll be needing an OpenGL GLB. Now to do that, we'll just need to click downloads and go to settings. And this is where we can configure our settings. So there's two main settings that we need to configure for our environments. Our splat file format, which is dictated by the plugin. The Akiya plugin supports splats in the PLY format, so we need to ensure that PLY is selected. Now for our coordinate system, we'll be needing to toggle these back and forth. But the main difference between OpenGL and OpenCV is OpenGL is a left-handed coordinate system and OpenCV is right-handed coordinate system. Now, the reason that we need the splat in OpenCV is because Akiya prefers the right-handed coordinate system, and Unreal processes our collision mesh for the GLB, so we'll need to make sure that the left-handed coordinate system is set for our collision mesh. Now, since we're downloading our environment first, we'll need to ensure that OpenCV is selected. We'll click Save. Now that that's been set, we can click Environment. After it's downloaded, we can click Downloads again. We'll click Settings. And this time, since we're downloading our collision mesh, we're going to be clicking OpenGL. Click Save, and then click Collider Mesh. After that's been downloaded, we can go to Downloads again, go to More Options, and select 360 panorama image to download our skylight. Now that we've downloaded all the components, let's configure our skylight, and then we can set up our project. So to do that, let's open up Photoshop. So we have our PNG opened up in Photoshop, and to do that, convert it to an HDR. We really just need to go to Image, Mode, and then change it from 8 to 32 bits. Then go to File, save a copy, and then we can navigate to where we want to save it, and come down and select Radiance. Ensure that it's saved as a .hdr, and click Save. Now that we've saved it, we can step to Unreal to configure our project. So the first thing we need to do is we need to ensure that Unreal 5.6 is installed. So we're going to open up the Epic Games Launcher. We're going to go to Unreal Engine and then Library. And if you don't have Unreal 5.6 already installed, we're going to click on the plus icon, which will then open up this icon. And then we'll come over to the upper right-hand corner where we have our version and select 5.6 from the drop-down. And then we click Install, and that'll begin the install process. Now, since we've installed 5.6 already, we're ready to install a plugin. So to do that, we can step to the Akiya 3D Gaussian Plugin in Fab. Link will be in the description. You'll need to purchase it. After you purchase it, your options will change, and you'll be able to select View and Launcher. So we want to select View and Launcher. This is going to open up the Akiya plugin in your Unreal library. After it opens, you'll be able to scroll down and click Install Plugin. And this will open up this will prompt you to select a version. Come to the dropdown and select 5.6 from the dropdown. Now, since I already have it installed, I don't have that option. But if I didn't, I would be able to select 5.6 and I would click Install. And now we're ready to create our project. So we're going to click Unreal Engine, come to our library, and we're just going to double check that it's installed. And to do that, we're just going to click Installed Plugins. And as you can see, we have the Akiya plugin installed. So we're going to click Close. We're going to click Launch on 5.6. And this is going to open up the Unreal Project Browser. The Unreal Project Browser allows us to configure our Unreal projects. And they have a variety of templates depending on what the end goal of your project is, ranging from automotive to simulation, architecture, games, you name it, they have it. But for our purposes, we're going to be using the first person template. The default settings are fine. And then we're just going to set the name and click create. And this will create our Unreal project. All right, now that our project has been opened, let's just confirm and double check that our plugin is installed and enabled. So we're going to file, we're going to edit, and we're going to click plugins. And we're going to, we see right here, we have 3D Gaussians. We just need to make sure that that's enabled. I'm going to click restart now. All right, after it's installed or after it's restarted, we should see that 3D Gaussians is enabled. And then we should see this icon up here. We also should see under Window, import 3D Gaussians. So now that we have the plugin enabled, let's just confirm we have all of our components required for our environment. We should have a PLY, we should have our GLB, and we should have our HDR. So now with all that ready, we can start importing our assets. Now, since the Akiya plugin creates the folders for us automatically, we're going to start with importing our splat actor first, and then we'll import our collision mesh and our skylight. So to begin, we're going to go to Window, Import 3D Gaussians. We're going to navigate to where our environment is, and we're going to select the PLY and click Open. After it's finished importing, your content tray will show up. We're going to open it up in our content browser. So we're going to go to Window, Content Browser, Content Browser. We're going to select 3D Gaussians. But before we do, I just like to make it stand out real quick. So we're going to right click, we're going to set color. We'll change it to this nice blue. That way it stands out in our folder and in our hierarchy here. So we're going to double click there, and we can see that it's created a folder for us as well. So we're going to double click into that, and we're going to import our, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to import into current folder. And we're going to be importing our collision mesh and our skylight. So I'm going to have our GLB and our HDR selected, and click Open. And click Import. The default settings are fine. After it's finished importing, you should see the HDR, and you should see our collision mesh here. But before we start looking at anything, I just want to create a base material real quick. So we're going to step back up to the 3D Gaussians folder. I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a new material, and I'm naming this masked map, masked underscore map, and hit enter. I'm going to double click to open up our material editor. One thing real quick before we do anything is I'm going to go to our blend mode. I'm going to change that from opaque and set it to masked. And then I'm going to hold one on my keyboard and click anywhere in my material graph to create a variable. And I'm going to right click on that and convert it to a parameter. And I'm going to name that mask. And I'm going to drag mask into opacity mask. I'm going to change the value to 1 and hit enter. I'm going to click apply. I'm going to close my material graph. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click create material instance. And enter. And now we can check out, and this gives us a really cool way to just toggle the visibility of our collision mesh. So if you open it up and we expand the global parameter values, global scalar parameter values, we can enable mask, we can change that to 0, and now it's invisible. Toggle it back to 1, and this will help us easily place our collision meshes. Click save. I'm going to close our material inspector. We're going to step into the Ruined Sanctuary folder. We're going to step into the folder generated by the GLB, step in the static meshes, and I'm going to double click our mesh. And there's 2 settings that we need to change for our mesh. We need to change our material, and then we'll need to change a collision setting. So first thing for material, it's really easy to just step back to the 3D Gaussians folder, select the mask material in your content browser, step back to your asset inspector, and click on the arrow icon to apply the mask material to our collision mesh. Now we just need to scroll down a little bit. And for our collision complexity, we need to change it from project default to use complex collision as simple. And then we can click save. We can close that. And now we can come to the Ruined Sanctuary folder of our splat, double click the blueprint. And now we can navigate back to our static mesh of our 3D of our collision mesh. Make sure we're in the viewport of our splat. We're just going to drag our collision mesh into our blueprint. Now you can see we have our collision mesh, and now we are going to move our camera. I'll hit E on the keyboard to bring up the context for the rotate tool, and I'm going to rotate it in the Z, and I think 90 is what we need. There you go, 90. And so now it's looking pretty good, except we can see the collision mesh. So I'm going to pull back up our content browser again, and I'm going to go back to the 3D Gaussians, and we're going to select our mass material instance, and I'm going to set this to 0, and I'm going to hit save. Now when we step back to our blueprint, we don't see our collision mesh, and we click compile. All right, now that we have our blueprint configured, we're ready to place it in a world. So I'm going to click save, and I'm going to close our blueprint editor. I'm going to pull down our content browser just down here, and I'm going to go file, new level, and I'm going to select empty level from the selection. This is going to create a nice blank empty level for us. And now I'm just going to come back to our content browser. I'm going to drag out our blueprint. And now we want to select it. And then in our details panel, if you don't have a details panel, we want to go to Window, Details, Details 1, and that should open up our details panel. So inside of our details panel, we want to zero out our transforms. So I'm just going to come to our location, and our X location, we click 0, our Y location, we zero it out, and our Z location, I'm going to zero out as well. And now I'm going to come up to the place actors, and I'm going to type in player start. I'm going to drop that into the level. I'm going to select it and hit W. If you hit W and your transforms don't show, hit G again, and now you should see your transform gizmo. You just need to move this up a little bit. Perfect. Now we have our transform. Now we have a player start. And so what that allows us to do is when we click play, we should see our level, or we should spawn into the world. So as you can see, we have our awesome splat. We see the environment. This is amazing. But if we look down, you can see that our character is black and our environment is nice and beautiful and lit. So to fix that, I'm going to come up to my place actors, and I'm going to type in skylight or sky. And then I'm going to drag a skylight from my place actors window into the world. I'm going to move it up a little bit so I can see the icon. Now, the cool thing is we can use the HDR that we imported to drive this light. So to do that, we're going to come to our source type. I'm going to change it from SLS capture scene to SLS specified cube map. And then we're going to come into the content browser, and we're going to select the HDR, and we're going to click on the arrow next to cube map, and we'll see the fields populated. Now we're going to change the intensity to something a little drastic, like 5, and then we're going to come and click play in the window. And if we look down, you can see that we have lighting on our actor. Now, what if we wanted to light our environment? Well, if we hit escape, and this is going to stop the plane editor, we can start to light our environment. So what I like to do while the asset is still in lit mode is kind of get an idea of the lighting that we want. And so right now we're just going to kind of focus on this nice overhead dome light. And so just kind of using that as a guide, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to type in light. And I think I'm going to drag out a rectangle light. And I'll just move that up into place, kind of roughly where I think. I'm going to hit E on the keyboard to go into rotation. Oh, we're going to go back to W, move it some more. Now we're going to hit E, and I'm just going to give it like 90 degrees. Now to change the size of the rectangle light, it's not going to be in scale. So if you hit R and you change the scale, you're changing the attenuation radius. That's that oval that you see expanding and contracting. So if we make it smaller, that's the attenuation radius, and we make it bigger. So this is just the how far the bounds of the light. Anything inside the sphere, the light will affect. Anywhere outside the sphere, the light won't affect. So if we wanted to make the light bigger, we're gonna have to come into our details panel, and we're gonna change the source width and height. So we're gonna do like 256, and you can see we have it changing. We're gonna change that to like 1024 and 1024. Beautiful. And we're gonna move it up a little bit more. And now you're like, cool, but you can't see what's going on. So we're going to select the splat, I'm going to come down to render mode, and right now it's set to translucent unlit. We're going to come down and we're going to change it to masked lit. And as you can see, if I hit G, we start to get lighting in our scene. And we see that the speckles because we have the environment selected. So we're going to select our light real quick, and we're just probably move that up a little bit. Ooh, wrong transform. We're going to move that up a little bit. And we can scale it up. We start to get the lighting, so we start to recreate the lighting. But this is just a primer. I wanted to show you what you could do with the Akiya plugin. And from there, we would just place more lights and start to fiddle it. The cool thing is you can start to like change some things up. So let's say we wanted red lighting, we can do that. It really starts to change the complexion of the scene, and it allows you to dial in and drive in and create some really cool effects and lean into Unreal's lighting. So I hope this has inspired you to create some really cool things. We can't wait to see what you create next.